Welcome to the video lectures on Biomedical Electronics course. Today here we are going to discuss some of the contents from unit number 2 of this particular course, that is cardiovascular system. Let's see what are the contents of this unit. This unit, it comprises of introduction to heart, physiology and anatomy of heart, lead configurations to acquire ECG signal, the ECG preamplifiers, the ECG recorder's block diagram, heart sounds and murmurs, and the concept of phonocardiography. For this unit, you can refer these two books, Biomedical Instrumentation and Measurements, and the other one is Handbook of Biomedical Instrumentation by R.S. Khanpur, which is of Tata McGraw-Hill publication. Let's start with the content of today's session. We will discuss the anatomy and physiology of heart and how the ECG signal is generated when the heart carries out its function. And we will see what is the function of your heart. Everybody knows human body, it is a complex engineering marvel and it has various systems incorporated into it, and one of the system present in human body is the cardiovascular system. So cardiovascular system, it is a complex closed hydraulic system which performs the essential service of transportation of your oxygen, carbon dioxide, numerous chemical compounds and blood cells to maintain the optimum environment for cellular function. So from engineering point of view or from technical terms, we can call the cardiovascular system as an hydraulic system where your blood, it comes in and goes out. The impure blood comes in and the pure blood is distributed to whole body parts. So it can be thought of as an hydraulic system where there is an in and out flow of blood. So the environment is produced and maintained by the circulation of blood. The heart is the power source which provides energy to move the blood through the body and at the same time removes waste products of cell metabolism from the cell. So basically a heart, it is a muscular organ which is the part of your cardiovascular system that is responsible for pumping blood throughout the blood vessels to our body. Heart pumps 1 lakh times beats per day, that is 35 million beats per year. And the basic function of human heart is to receive the deoxygenated blood from different body parts, take it to the lungs to purify. Lungs will oxygenate that blood. That oxygenated blood is received from the lungs by the heart, and then the heart pumps it to whole body parts. So this is the basic function of human heart. Let's move on to the anatomy and then we will see how the heart works. First, let's see how is its structure. Anatomy is nothing but the structure of your human heart. So the human heart consists of 4 chambers: the right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle and left ventricle. Likewise, it has 4 walls. First is the tricuspid wall that you can see over here, bicuspid wall, pulmonary wall and the aortic wall. So such 4 walls are present in the human heart. Major veins are superior vena cava and inferior vena cava and the pulmonary veins. Major arteries are aorta, this is aorta, and the pulmonary arteries. Structurally, the heart is divided into right and the left part. Each part has 2 chambers that we have seen earlier, that is atrium and ventricles. You have right atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. Heart has 4 walls. These walls, they act as gates. They open only one way and each wall opens and closes once per heartbeat. So the first wall is the tricuspid wall, which is also called as right atrioventricular wall or AV wall. It is present in between the right atrium and the right ventricle. It consists of 3 flaps or cusps. It prevents the backflow of blood from the ventricles to the right atrium. The next wall is the bicuspid wall, which is also called as mitral wall, you can see here, or it is also called as left atrioventricular wall. It is present in between the left atrium and the ventricle. The wall has 2 flaps or cups. It prevents the backflow of blood from left ventricle to atrium. The third wall is pulmonary wall. It is present at right ventricle. It consists of 3 half-moon shaped cups and it does not allow blood to come back to right ventricle. The fourth wall is the aortic wall. It is present between the left ventricle and the aorta. Construction same as the pulmonary wall, and this wall prevents the return of blood back to left ventricle from aorta. The heart wall consists of 3 layers basically. The first layer is pericardium, which is the outer layer of heart. Keeps the outer surface moist and prevents friction as the heart beats. The second is myocardium layer. It is the middle layer of heart and it is the main muscle of heart, which is made up of short cylindrical fibers. This muscle is automatic in action, contracting and relaxing rhythmically throughout the life. And the last layer is endocardium, which is the inner layer of heart, and it provides the smooth lining for the blood to flow. The blood, it is carried to various parts of body through the blood vessels, which are hollow tubes. There are 3 types of blood vessels basically. The first is arteries. Arteries are thick walled and they carry the oxygenated blood away from the heart. Second is your veins. These veins are thin walled and they carry deoxygenated blood throughout the heart. Capillaries, they are the smallest and the last level of blood vessels. They are so small that the blood cells which make blood actually flow one at a time through them. There are estimated to be over 8 lakh kilometers of capillaries in the human being, that include all the arteries and veins which carries the blood. So this is how is the structure of human heart. Now let's see the functioning of human heart. In the figure itself you can see the arrows, they are indicating the blood flow. You can see in the figure the blue color indicates the impure blood and the red color indicates the pure oxygenated blood. So you can see in the figure the impure blood enters the heart at the right side through the 2 main veins. First is the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. So superior vena cava collects the impure blood from the upper extremities of body, and the inferior vena cava, it collects the blood from the lower extremities of the body, that is below the heart. So the impure blood, it enters into the right side of the heart, goes towards the lungs, you can see the arrowheads, and goes towards the lungs for purification. Then the blood gets oxygenated and again enters back into the heart on the right side. So you can see here through the pulmonary arteries the blood enters into the lungs, and after getting oxygenated through the pulmonary veins, oxygenated blood enters the left side of the heart. You can see the arrowheads again here. And through the aorta, again you can go through this arrowheads, through aorta the blood is distributed to all the body parts. So this is how the heart functions. So there is an opening and closing of the valves. Blood enters, the pressure increases, there is a contraction of heart which causes some of the valves to open, then the ventricles or the atriums, they relaxes, and there is a contraction as well as the relaxation of your heart muscles, which causes this blood to enter and go towards the lungs for oxygenation, again come back into the heart and gets distributed in the whole body parts. So this is how the function of heart is. You can see in the figure, the blue color is again indicating you the impure blood, and the red color indicates the pure oxygenated blood. So from the body parts, the blood is taken through the superior and the inferior vena cava, enters into the right side of heart, goes towards the lungs. From here again, from the lungs the blood is taken in oxygenated blood in red, and that oxygenated blood, it is given through the aorta to all the body parts. The deoxygenated blood or the impure blood from the upper extremities of body and from the lower extremities of body, it is collected by superior vena cava and inferior vena cava respectively, and that comes first into the right atrium. When the right atrium gets filled with the blood, the pressure inside the right atrium, it increases, and it forces the tricuspid wall to get opened, and the blood enters into the right ventricle. Again the pressure inside the right ventricle increases, and it causes the pulmonary wall to get opened, and the blood gets into the lungs for oxygenation purpose. Then that impure blood gets oxygenated and enters again into the left atrium. You can see the arrowheads, blood entering into the left atrium. When the blood inside the left atrium is full, then it again gets contracted, and it causes the mitral wall to get opened, and the blood flows down into the left ventricle. When the left ventricle is fully filled with this blood, the pure oxygenated blood, it causes the pressure to get increased inside the left ventricle and forces the aortic wall to get opened, and the blood through the aorta, from here it gets distributed to whole body organs. So in this way the heart, it functions. There is a contraction and relaxation of the atriums and the ventricles. So each heartbeat has two parts, one is diastole and the other one is called as systole. So diastole, it is the ventricle relax and fill with the blood as the atria contracts, emptying all the bloods into the ventricles. And systole, it is the ventricle contracts and pump blood out of the heart as the atria relax, filling with the blood again. So for each heartbeat, the heart contracts and it relaxes. The contraction, it is called as the systole, while the relaxation of heart muscles, it is called as diastole. And for the effective pumping action of the heart, the function of heart is basically to pump the blood, to take the impure blood and pump the pure blood which is oxygenated by the lungs. So for the effective pumping action of the heart, the muscles of heart, they must work together to squeeze the blood in the right direction at the right time and with the right force. This is very important. So the electrical impulses, they coordinate this activity. So the normal excitation, it originates in the sinoatrial node, that is SA node. You can see over here in the figure, it is present at the upper corner of right atrium. So the excitations, the electrical conduction of heart starts at SA node, then it propagates through both the atrias. You can see here, the lines are shown. The atrial depolarization spreads to the atrioventricular node. We have seen the concept of polarization, depolarization and repolarization. Now the electrical conduction of heart starts at the SA node, which is also called as the natural pacemaker of heart. So SA node is the natural pacemaker of heart, where the conduction of heart it starts. The atrial depolarization, it spreads to the AV node. From SA node it goes towards the AV node. AV node is the atrioventricular node, you can see over here, and then it passes through the bundle of His, and then it gets to the Purkinje fibers, which make up the left and the right bundle branches. So the electrical conduction, it starts at SA node, moves towards the AV node. From AV node they get spread in two branches, left and right branches, and the electrical impulses, they are passed onto the ventricles through this Purkinje fibers. Here at last all the ventricle muscles, they get activated. So you can see in the figure from SA node how the impulses travel in the atrias. They causes the atrias to get contracted, forces the blood to go down. You can see from SA node the impulses goes towards the AV node. AV node, it is also called as gatekeeper of heart. SA node is the natural pacemaker of heart, where your conduction of heart starts. Then from SA node to AV node, from AV node to left and the right branches, and through the Purkinje fiber the electrical impulses, they are spread to all the ventricles. So you can see the ventricles here, when the impulses they come over here, they contract and they allow the blood to get out of the heart. So this is how the heart it works, and this is the conduction system of heart. So far we have learned the anatomy and physiology of heart. So we are now aware about the functioning and the structure of heart in detail, and how it performs its function of pumping the blood, taking the impure blood and circulating the pure blood to whole body parts. So one of the tests which is carried out on the heart, it is electrocardiography. We have seen the electrical conduction system of heart too. The electrical conduction starts at SA node, and then it travels down to AV node, gets distributed into the left and right branches, and through the Purkinje fiber the electrical impulses, they are spread towards the whole ventricles. So this heart's conduction system, this spread of electric potential, it helps the heart muscles to contract and relax respectively whenever needed, to take the blood in and push the blood out of the heart. So basically electrocardiography, it is a process of producing an electrocardiogram, a recording of voltage versus time of electrical activity of heart, using the electrodes placed on the skin. Changes in the normal ECG pattern, they occur in numerous cardiac abnormalities, including cardiac rhythm disturbances, inadequate coronary artery blood flow, and electrolyte disturbances. So this all different cardiac abnormalities, they causes the normal ECG pattern to get changed. So now we will see how is the normal ECG pattern. So in the figure you can see the normal ECG pattern, it is shown. It consists of P wave, QRS complex and T wave. So we will explore this in detail. So I told you when the heart it functions for taking the impure blood in, giving it to the lungs for the purification, again collecting blood from the lungs, which is oxygenated blood, and again circulating it towards the whole body parts. There is a spread of action potential across the myocardial muscles, and that electric potential we can measure, and we can plot this electrocardiogram. You can see over here. So the first wave in the ECG signal is the P wave. So the P wave, it starts when SA node, it provides impulse which causes the atria to contract. The contraction takes place slowly. You can see it is smaller as compared to this QRS complex. The walls open due to the pressure and the blood starts flowing down to the ventricles. So basically the P wave, it indicates you the atrial depolarization. There is PQ segment over here. This part, it is called as PQ segment. So here the contraction of atria has happened. Impulses, they transfer down towards the AV node. AV node acts as resistor and it adds a delay. In that time, blood transfers into the ventricles. So it is a no activity phenomena. No, it is a non-event phenomena. There is no activity happening, only the ventricles are getting filled with the blood, and this helps us in getting the baseline of the ECG signal. In the figure you can observe it. The next is QRX complex or QRS wave. It has maximum amount of energy and it is a very important phenomena and a very important event. After PQ segment, the QRS complex will start when AV node releases a signal and allow it to go to the ventricles. Then what happens, there are different knobs like the bundle of His, and then the left and right branches and distribute signal on both ventricles. And there are small knobs called Purkinje fibers which takes the signal to all the parts of ventricles, and this leads to the ventricle contraction, and the signal travels at fast speed from the AV node to the Purkinje fiber, which leads to such sharp and tall waveform. QRS complex, it is indicating you the ventricle depolarization. Now the ventricles, they contract. Semilunar walls. Semilunar walls means the pulmonary and the aortic wall, they get opened, so the blood will be given out from the heart. The ST segment, it is again a non-event phenomena, providing us the baseline. Ventricles, they remain contracted, so the blood flows out of the heart, and through the right ventricle the blood goes into the lungs, and through the left ventricles the blood is provided to all the body parts. The next is the T wave. So ventricle muscles, they get relaxed and the pressure in the ventricles, it comes down, the semilunar wall gets closed and the supply of blood will stop. And this T wave, it is showing you nothing but the relaxation of ventricular muscles, that is nothing but ventricular repolarization. In the figure you can see this QT interval. So QT interval, it is the time for the ventricles to depolarize and then again get repolarize. In the figure again you can see this PR interval. PR interval, it is nothing but the time taken by this electrical activity or the electrical impulses to move from the atria to the ventricles. Now we have seen that P wave, it is indicating atrial depolarization, QRS complex indicates the ventricular depolarization, T wave indicates ventricular repolarization, but we didn't observe the atrial repolarization. So over here in the same time period, the atrial repolarization, it happens, but the amplitude of that signal is so small that it gets overlapped in this QRS complex. So basically we get to see the QRS complex which is indicating the ventricle depolarization. So this is how the ECG signal it is generated by the normal activity of heart muscles and the working of heart. Typically the amplitude value is in the 0.5 millivolt to 1 millivolt range for the heart rate. I hope you have understood whatever we have discussed in this video lecture. We started this video lecture with the cardiovascular system. The main part of cardiovascular system being the heart. We explored the heart's anatomy. How is the heart structure? It is divided into the 4 chambers: the right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle, the 4 walls, tricuspid, bicuspid wall, and pulmonary and the aortic wall. We saw the whole anatomy of heart. Then we explored the working of heart, how it functions actually, how the impure blood heart takes inside it from the different body organs, and how it provides that impure blood to the lungs for getting oxygenated. That oxygenated blood, how it enters the human heart, and how the heart again distributes that pure blood to whole body organs. That too we have seen. And while this functioning is carried out, we saw how the human heart it generates the ECG signal. With the proper functioning of the heart, we saw how the ECG signal is generated and what waves does it contains. It has P wave, QRS complex, and the T wave. We saw when this P, QRS and T wave they are generated while the heart carries out its function. I hope you have understood all of this. Thank you.